Yo, guess what? KShedd. No, wait a minute. My daughter just smacked me. She said, no, it's called KShedd Uncuffed, this particular episode. And you know what? It was a friendly, like, little jab, but and it's from my kids. So, of course, they can do kind of whatever they want to you. At least they think. And, but she's 18 now. So, it's been great. It's been a great ride. KShedd Uncuffed. I have to accept the fact that my firstborn is now 18 and about to go off in her first maiden voyage out into the real world. And I always try to remind her what her grandfather said, always taught us, is that, hey, when you go out to the real world, just know that it's there waiting for you with open arms and arms wide spread. But be careful, because on each end of those arms, there's a fish ready to knock the snot out of your nose. So, but she knows that. She knows kind of how mine and her mom's philosophies are growing up. She's one fantastic kid, and one thing that I really love about what she's doing is she's watching over her little sister, Miss London, like a big superstar. And I want to say thank you for that. And so without further ado, my podcast, KShedd Uncuffed, episode 24, is going to be with Mersayis Capri Shadizzle. Go ahead, Mersayis, introduce yourself.
Hey guys, today this episode is being taken over by KShedd Uncuffed. Today is no KShedd Uncuffed. So it's very nice to be on the podcast today and get a little bit of my story out to the real world.
Ooh, whoa, you got a story already? Girl, you're just 18.
Yeah,
okay, all right. Well, tell me about this story. I remember, let me tell my stories first. I remember, obviously, when you were a baby, watching you grow up and all that stuff. Out there, to our listeners, everybody kind of knows I was a professional football player, but one of my favorite stories is my favorite catch that I ever made was when changing Sayas when she was a baby, and I looked away, and these babies are so quick and so, they move all around and they won't hold still, obviously, because they don't know that that's what they're supposed to be doing at that moment. And so as I went to go try to grab the diaper, the changer, I look again and she's falling off the table. And I'm just like, oh, shoot. And without even thinking about it, my left hand, and I'm not even left-handed, I drop all kinds of balls left-handed. But for whatever reason, it was the only hand I could use. And my left hand went down and whop, and caught her by her left butt cheek, like right before she was about to go head first into the ground. And I was like, gotcha. And it was just like, it was a happy ending to something that could have been very traumatic and scary and all that stuff. But man, those are the type of stories that sticks with you. And because, anytime that something harms your child, it hits you very deep. So that's going to be hard for me, knowing that I won't have direct link into making sure she's safe, because she's going to be off on her own. So you just got done graduating, young lady?
Yes, I did. Liberty High School graduate. Got off to Oregon State now.
Well, tell me about your high school career. Did you have fun?
Yes, I think I was definitely very busy. I was one of the main people that had to take the lead in our senior class. So it was definitely fun, but very stressful on my part. But it was very memorable, and it was special for me to be the main person to plan all of our events and graduation, prom, all that type of stuff. So it was very nice, especially being part of sports, being on the track team, being on the dance team. So I was just very involved with the school, and I think that made high school very memorable for me.
Wow. So you did a lot of everything. You said you were the class president?
Yes, I was.
Did you have to campaign and do all that stuff?
Unfortunately, I didn't have to campaign. It was pretty easy on my part, because people knew that I was going to be perfect for the role.
Wait a minute. You guys, right now she's patting herself on the back, and I'm just like, you missed the spot. So anyway.
Yeah, I think I just am a person where it's like I like to go above and beyond and give our class like what they deserve. We've worked really hard these past 4 years in high school, and I guess growing up we always watched Disney Channel and the High School Musical movie. So I kind of wanted to take the lead and make that High School Musical dream come into our reality. So
From everything I've heard and seen from this past year, I think you hit it right out the park with that too. I remember one of the things that you said for one of your segments that you were going to be presenting to the people who were going to be making the decisions is that you wanted all peoples of all colors and genders and backgrounds, and whether you're a sports star or band member or whatever, everybody should be treated equally and everybody should be, welcomed as a family. And I thought that was fantastic. Way to go.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, where'd you get that mindset from?
Am I supposed to say you?
Well, I mean, if you want to eat tonight, that's probably a good call because I'm making dinner tonight. So, give me the real answer. I know I don't want to put you on the spot like that, but I know that a lot of people, at your dance studio, at PAC and all that stuff, your aunts, uncles, and, Auntie Simone, Auntie Sherry, everybody. You've had a lot of people who played a very critical role in making you, and of course your mom, obviously, but you've had a lot of key people, and play an important role in making you the type of top-notch girl that you are.
For sure. I think, coming from like a biracial young woman, I feel like there was unlimited opportunities. You're not just seeing one side, you're seeing like, mom's side, whereas she grew up in Utah where they're pretty religious and like things one way, and it's pretty fun down there, go to the lake, seeing that side, but then also seeing like Auntie Sherry's side of the family, like grandma, grandpa, very like, traditional, very like everyone comes together as a family. A lot of memories, we would stay up really, really late, watch you guys play dominoes, card games. So that was always fun. But I think just like being able to see everyone's point of view made me feel like, everyone is equal, and it is fun seeing different types of opinions and traditions that like families have.
So you're saying you haven't seen any type of racial divide or any type of racial targeting towards you?
Not necessarily. I mean, there's always going to be comments where it's like, especially as a biracial, it's just like sometimes you'll be called too whitewashed, or you'll be called too ghetto, or, trying to act like, what I'm saying?
Nope. I'm full 100% black. I don't know what you're talking about.
I guess, but...
So actually, I'm joking because I've always been considered, even though I am 100% black, but my skin tone is always been considered light skinned. So everybody's always called or thought of me as mixed. When I grew up, I was getting called 0.5, half breed, mixed breed, all kinds of names and stuff like that. And then you go over to the small town Iowa cities and stuff. Then you get called the N-word and, right. Get out of here, boy, that type of stuff. But I'll tell you, that was back in the 80s and the 90s. If I go back to Iowa now, it has changed a lot. So, it's important that you and I have this type of conversation because, young lady, there is no excuse nowadays for anybody to be screaming any type of racial stuff because those days seem to be over with. Obviously racism is still going to be there here and there, but it's nothing as prevalent as it was back when I was growing up. And that definitely doesn't hold a candle to how it was when my mom and dad grew up. So right about now is a perfect timing for what are you guys, Gen Zs? What the heck is your generation nowadays?
Gen Z.
Okay, all right, Gen Zs, you guys have no excuses. Honestly, this world is at your feet. And, I was going to ask you, because when you graduated, I saw you walk down the aisle in your robe and all that stuff, and you had all these different, what are those things called? Those sachets or those ropes?
Cords.
Those cords, yeah. Did you have to pay teachers off to get all those, or what was going on here?
No, I told you that I was very involved. I got most of my cords came from leadership. Another club that's kind of like leadership, but we mainly focus on helping freshmen get more involved on campus and feel more comfortable. So that was called Lions Crew. And then let's see, track and field, obviously.
Academics and stuff too.
Yes, honor roll.
Yeah.
California State Scholarship, National Honor Society. So all those type of things. So yeah.
Yeah, guys, you could barely see her head and face with all those dang cords all up on her. And I was just like, I kept looking at my wife and I'm like, are you sure this is my kid here? Because all these academic honor roll type stuff, that I don't even know. I wish I had something like that. But man, I was happy to get my D minus so I could even graduate. So, it's funny to see the kids grow up and everything, and because my mom and dad, they did everything in the world for me, and if you can go back in time, there's always those times where you just wish that you would have listened to mom and dad a lot more than you did, even though life kind of dictates that you kind of have to go through your own trials and tribulations on your own. And I have to tell y'all, this girl has so far done a fantastic job making it through to her number 8 years on this earth. Her graduating and then heading off to, where'd you say you're going?
Oregon State Beavers.
Oh, wow. How did you pick up Oregon State?
Well, during the beginning of my senior year, we were kind of just like picking and choosing, some schools that I've found interest in, and Oregon State kind of I've always liked Oregon, but mainly because Twilight was filmed there.
Oh, that's right. That's your favorite show.
And it's so beautiful, so I kind of put that on my list, not thinking anything of it. And then just like diving deeper into it. And as soon as I applied, I got accepted and offered an academic scholarship. So that was I was kind of leaning towards Oregon State just because of that too. And then later on in my season, reaching out to some of the coaches, and they responded to me, and now I'm part of the track team.
Nice. What events are you going to be doing out there?
Well, we'll see what they put me in. Normally, once we get there, they kind of switch you around, see what's best for you. But I'm hoping to be part of the 400 and 200 meter.
Nice. That was your dad's race, that 400. I mean, it was very, very rewarding, but at the end of every race, you just want to just crawl into some type of place and just hibernate for 2 hours and at least while you catch your breath, and you don't want to be dealing with people because everything about that race happens so fast. And people don't know that your body is just not designed to run 400 yards at full speed, but that race kind of demands that you do. You can only kind of run on average 250 yards at full speed without like starting to run out of gas. So that's what's so difficult about that race. And I was so glad that you took it on instead of, kind of ignoring it and running from it, stuff like some track runners do. You took it on. You're like, hey, what's going on? What did Dad say to look into? And you remember the 400. And I remember you, the first time you ran it, you seemed like you crossed the finish line. You were surprised, like, whoa, that wasn't that bad. And then you just took the ball and ran with it.
Yeah, I mean, definitely it is such a hard race. Every time I get down into the box before we go, I am like, why did I even sign up for track, to be honest? Like, why am I even in this position right now? But then as soon as you finish and you continue to get better after every single meet, that just kind of reminds you why you're doing it. So
good for you. That's a great mindset. When you go off to Oregon State, what are you going to major in?
The major that I plan to be in is sociology.
Wait, you gonna be a cop?
I mean, you could go a whole bunch of ways with sociology major.
Really? Okay. But are you gonna be a cop?
I mean, we'll see where the wind takes me. I've definitely found interest in it because of you and Grandpa.
Aw, that's right. Grandpa was the first black cop in Davenport, Iowa, y'all. And he carried that off to me. He told me this one time he was kind of hurt, but he laughed it off. But foot patrolling down there in downtown Davenport, and so a car drove up and said, "Dang, man, who burnt the bacon?" Wow. He laughed because that was actually kind of creative and kind of funny and all that stuff. But he made such an impression on those kids. Even in the south side of Davenport, Iowa. So the south side it's the reverse. It's, normally the south side is where like the, mostly black folk live. But the south side here in Davenport is where the rednecks and the hicks live and stuff like that. So anytime you go down there, that's kind of what you have to deal with. So that's where he was saying that most of the people who had like these looks or these nasty vibes towards him were on the south side of Davenport. But after a while, people started noticing and knowing what type of great man this guy was, and he didn't play any bias whatsoever. He literally was there to help these kids out. And by the time that his career kind of started easing up or getting up there in the years, I was getting pulled aside by so many different people, you know, even from the people from the South Side who were saying, your dad was awesome. He helped me out so many different ways. And, you know, it's a credit. And so that's one of the main reasons why I had to step into the law enforcement world, because I had to see for myself. And I have to tell you, Mersayis, I was pleasantly surprised.
Surprised that I chose that major?
No, I was pleasantly surprised by what I saw in law enforcement.
Oh, why were you surprised?
Yeah, just because of there's no limits to what an individual can do to help out the society that they're tasked to protect and kind of watch over. You know, I mean, every day it's a new script, and every day you have the opportunity to affect someone's life in a positive way. And it really is about, you know, you really, if you so choose to take on that task, you know, it's very rewarding, but it's a difficult job. Have you ever had any interactions with police?
I have.
Yeah, tell me about it.
It's always the dumb teenagers that get into it with the police. So, but my interaction wasn't that bad. It's, you know, those high school parties and the cops show up and, you know, they interrogate you just trying to get something out of you.
Yeah.
So this one particular time, I was driving my friends. I was DD for the night.
Yeah.
And my two friends in the car obviously are under the influence, because no wonder I'm DD. Anyways, they're under the influence, and we're just getting into the car after the party gets shut down. And the cops like come up to the car and are asking us, you know, the party is done, you guys gotta go. To them, you know, I start to pull away. Mind you, I'm driving someone else's car because I did not have my car.
Yeah.
So I'm driving the car, and apparently my friend's taillight was out. So then he pulled us over again. And it was like, you guys, did you know that your taillight was out? And I'm like, no, I had no idea. And then he's like, is anyone under the influence in the car? I was like, not me.
Nice.
And then he was like, okay, just drive. And just drove away.
Woo!
That was my only interaction with the car, with the cops.
Okay. Hey, that's a fantastic story. You know, I mean, you remain poised and throughout it all, sounds like, right? And you were a designated driver, and your job was to get people home safe. You know, I mean, a lot of the times when I was growing up, I would complain about police, you know, stopping me here and there or whatever. But in reality, they were stopping me because I was going like 100 plus down the road and doing everything wrong. So cops really aren't out there to jam people up per se. There definitely are like 5%, maybe 10% now bad apples out there who are targeting people here and there. But for the most part, and that's what I saw when I was training the new officers, is that you just watch them and kind of just sit back and watch how they are when they're you let them kind of go off on their own. And their heart is pure, you know, it really is. So I'm happy that happened. I think everybody should have some type of interactions with the police to see for themselves and then make their decisions, you know, and I always say, if they feel like they're being targeted or being unfairly treated, just say, okay, officer, thank you, whatever, and then file a complaint. It's super easy. So I'm glad that you had that opportunity to experience that.
For sure.
You know, so you remember that picture that me and you took? You were a baby, and I was in my police uniform. And yeah, and Sayus is like, you know, 9 months or whatever, just like super young. And then it's the great picture because I'm holding her, and behind us is a American flag. So, you know, I mean, you have a black officer standing proud in front of a United States flag, holding his young daughter, and just like this glow about himself. And she has this like adorable little smile and giggle about herself. You know, that's a symbol of how far everything has gone in this world. And I will remember all that as one of my favorite moments and memories as being a police officer. You know, everybody knows I was a police officer for 20 years. And, you know, part of me thinks, do I want my daughter to go off and be a police officer? And then, you know, other times I say, I don't know, it's getting kind of dangerous and stuff. So one of the things I'm always checking on her with is I'll send her videos here and there and see what she thinks. So the other day I sent her this video, and it's the hot topic right now, of this black male who I can't remember what city. I want to guess, and I want to say Seattle, but I might be wrong. But regardless, these white officers get sent to this call where there's a disturbance, like a verbal disturbance between two homeless people. And when they get there, they start talking to both sides. They talk to the female half first, and then they make contact with the male half. And then things just went downhill from there. And if you watch the video, I try to pinpoint where exactly did it go wrong, but in the end, the guy that they made contact with ended up jumping into the water, into the river in front of them, and then he drowned. So I showed Mersayis that video, and I wanted her to tell me what she thought about it. So have you had time to kind of reflect on that video, say?
Yeah, so I think we should tell a little bit more detail about what happened in the video.
Go ahead.
Okay, so basically what I analyzed from the video is, you know, where the first thing that happens is they're talking to, well, it looks like a couple that is homeless broke out into an argument, and then they kind of separated from each other. The woman is on one side. So then they go on and talk to her, and she's saying she's very much not in the right headspace. She's not speaking correctly. You could tell she's on drugs. She's not here, like she's not here presently. So she's kind of just mumbling and like answering their questions every now and again. They're asking her like where they're staying. She's saying like, not normally, we don't normally stay here. Anyways, what she has to say kind of doesn't really help them in the long run. So they move on to the man, and they're asking him like, you know, what happened? Where do you guys normally stay? And they're kind of just like nonchalant, very calm, which you think in the video, it's like, obviously you want like to approach people calmly nowadays, because once you approach with force, then they get all hostile, and then something hostile will break loose. So they kind of are just taking it easy, being very calm with him, and he's talking about how he has like liver problems and he can't get up and move and do it what they're asking him.
So it sounds like a consensual type encounter. There's no real, you know, crime or anything like that.
Yeah, it doesn't seem in the video there's like no harm. I think someone might have just called for like, you know, there's these people that are staying here overnight, they can't be here type of thing, which, yeah, it's a simple like, you can't stay here, and then move along. So they're not really too worried about there being any threat. So they're kind of just having simple conversation with him. And then a little bit further along in the video, he starts to hop this fence to get into the water that's like by the bridge. So he's trying to like get into the water, which the police officers are kind of just watching it, and it's like, can't get into the water, nonchalant, just like leaning over the fence, telling him you can't get into the water. No real help or like kind of trying to resist him. He's kind of just doing his own thing, and they're just watching it. So he ends up getting into the water, and from then on, he gets stuck and he ends up drowning.
Really? That's awful.
Yeah.
That's awful. Wow. So fast forward, that happened maybe last year and around that time. And I remember seeing that video when it came out, because obviously it was a hot topic at that time. And I knew for a fact that obviously it was going to turn into a lawsuit. And I didn't know exactly what was going to happen discipline-wise to the police officers, but there was going to be an investigation. And then, so here we are now, and the lawsuit, I believe it's like $10 million or something like that, is taking place right now. Other investigative groups are looking into the situation, and people are trying to watch the video and analyze, the experts are trying to analyze what went wrong or what the cops could have done differently. What was their role? Were they legally bound to go after this officer or this citizen and save him because in the video, the wife pleading with them to save the guy. He gets caught in like a thing of weeds or something like that inside the river. And then he's struggling. Now he's asking and yelling out to the officers to help him. And at no point do any of the officers do anything to try to help him other than I think they place a call to their dispatch to try to get an emergency rescue boat on the way. But the whole time they're really just sitting there watching this guy drown. And it's when this case first came out, there was live video, wasn't censored or anything like that. So you literally can watch this guy struggling and going up, and then he's going under the surface, going up, and he's yelling out. And then you can literally watch this guy, as sad as it sounds, as bad as it sounds, you can literally watch the video and he drowns in front of your eyes. Now you have to really kind of Google and search and stuff to find those type of videos because it's turned into such just a federal situation now where all these organizations are looking into it, human rights violations and stuff. And, so now these videos aren't as easily accessible. But the bottom line is, and I've been asking Mersayis this, is that there's a consensus that comes back to the police officers were not bound by any statute to go in and risk their life to try to save this guy. What do you think about that, Say?
I mean, yeah, I understand. Like, police officers aren't trained to hop into the water, swim out there, and go get him. But it's kind of just like, I think it's it's like you personally, you're watching someone struggle in the water, which the water is something that you shouldn't mess with, and especially you just heard this guy say, I have liver problems, which obviously he dug his own hole. He did it to himself. He went into the water. He chose to go into the water. He chose to swim out there, and knowing that he wasn't probably healthy enough or experienced enough to go do that. But I think it's kind of heartbreaking to just sit there and just watch someone die because you didn't want to just hop in the water and go pull them out. I mean, police officers, yes, their job is, it's not their job to go into the water and save them, but it's also their job to protect people and save people's lives. So me personally, I couldn't just sit there and watch someone die in front of my eyes when I know that I have full capability of going out there and swimming and being able to save them, no matter if they dug their own hole or not.
Or if they're suicidal and the possibility of them trying to kill themselves and then they take you down with them.
I think that's when you have to kind of work as a team.
Okay, I love it. Go. I love it. So you would have somebody go out there with you, right? One of your other officers go out there with you.
Yeah, I don't think it would be safe. I mean, you said that there was about like 4 police officers on.
Yeah, there was at least 4 that I saw.
So there's no excuse. Like, you could have brought someone with you, and there's no way that guy is taking both of you guys down.
That's good. That's a great point. There's a story that I'm very proud of because I work with a guy named Louis Gillen at San Leandro Police he gets a call one night of a car that went over the marina. If you guys are familiar with San Leandro, a marina area sits off the bay. Right across the bay is San Francisco from San Leandro, but it's a beacon for drunk people who are going to the restaurant El Torito. Yes, so they'll go to El Torito, and sometimes they're not paying attention, and they'll fly over the barrier log that goes from the parking lot into the bay, and then now all of a sudden they're into the water. And in this particular case, the person went into the water and it's dark. I think it was nighttime, but anyway, the car was way out there, right? So Louis was one of the first ones to respond, and when he gets there, without even thinking, he takes his uniform top off, his vest, all the stuff that could obviously weigh him down. He strips down to pretty much his underwear, takes his shoes off, boots, all that stuff, and he goes into the water and he helps save this person in that car. So
right.
If I know the experts say as quickly as possible to protect the officers who are in question right now, that they're not legally bound because they're not trained for water rescues. But then a guy like me who's been an officer for 20 plus years, and you work with people who are so selfless, they Louis didn't even think about it. He was confident in his ability to swim, and I don't even think that even if he wasn't the best swimmer, he still would have done the same thing. So it's hard to balance this thing because there's officers out there who would go into that water without even giving a second thought. Then you have these officers who were so callous and said, I'm not going in there. And it shows on video. So it's a tough one. In the end, the officers are going to lose, and they are going to pay the price for this. The city's going to have to pay a lot of money. And now this homeless woman is going to have to go the rest of her life without her husband. So in my eyes, you know, if someone would have taken the initiative to gain control over the situation from the very beginning, when you're making contact with this guy and he like starts acting up and he wants to stand up and like, wait a minute here, dude, you need to sit down. And he's like, no, my liver's hurting. I'm just like, okay, well, you can stand there, but then I'm gonna have to put my cuffs on you, or you're gonna have to go back over by the car or something. That's how you gain control over these situations. So you know, if you're making contact with the person and you have the legal right to be there, you have to start taking control over the situation so the person can't just like hop a fence and then go down by the water. You can't let that happen. So there's preventative measures that should have been taken in my eyes that wouldn't even have gotten to that point where this dude's even in the water. So your degree, like you said, is going to take you all kinds of different routes, Miss Mersayis Capri. And you could be a lawyer, you could be a social worker, you could be a therapist, you could be a police officer, you could be a teacher. I mean, you know, I'm going down the line because you picked one heck of a great major, and I'm excited to see where it takes you. But just know, if you do go follow your dad's lead, who followed his dad's lead, this is one heck of a hard job to take on. But the girl that I've seen grow up in front of my eyes, I think would be well off and ready to shine in that role. So, you know, anything that you wanted to kind of say to our young listeners before we wrap everything up?
Just targeting like people my age.
Okay. Mersayis closes episode 24. Go.
All I gotta say is things may be hard in the moment and you may overthink it and think it's like too much of a struggle, but it will pay off in the end. So keep working hard in whatever you find you're passionate in.
I love it, baby. I'm proud of you, honey.
Thank you, Dad.
KShedd, Uncuffed, episode 24 is
out.